Herzlich willkommen, sehr geehrte Damen und Herren. Mein Name ist Christoph Sturm und ich bin der Wirtschaftsdelegierte in Athen und freue mich, dass Sie so zahlreich an unserem Webinar zum Thema Infrastruktur und Bauprojekte in Griechenland teilnehmen. Griechenland, ein Markt, der oft unterschätzt wird, aber auf dem sich einiges tut, und die nächste Stunde soll Ihnen eben Möglichkeiten aufzeigen, wie auch Sie in Griechenland erfolgreich sein können. Am Anfang ein paar Wirtschaftskennzahlen Griechenland betreffend zur Einstimmung. Griechenland hat es tatsächlich vom schwarzen Schaf zum EU-Musterschüler geschafft. Wenn Sie sich zurückerinnern an die Finanz- und Wirtschaftskrise im Jahr 2008, 2009, das ist in Vergessenheit geraten. Griechenland hat alle Auflagen der Europäischen Union mustergültig erfüllt und ist auch erst im letzten August aus der besonderen Überwachung entlassen worden. Die Rezession hat 2020 natürlich auch eingesetzt, Corona-bedingt. Es gab aber eine starke Erholung im Jahr 2021 mit einem Wirtschaftswachstum von plus 8,3% wieder. Der Ausblick für dieses Jahr ist trotz des Ukraine-Kriegs, mit dem auch Griechenland Herausforderungen hat, plus 4% eigentlich im gesamteuropäischen Vergleich immer noch ganz gut. Für 2023 werden immer noch positive 2,4% prognostiziert. Warum ist das so? Der Tourismus ist der große Retter. Es wird eine Rekordtourismussaison erwartet für das Jahr 2022 und das hilft natürlich der griechischen Wirtschaft stark. Die Großprojekte, die von der EU finanziert werden, die sind nicht in Gefahr. Geld ist genügend vorhanden. Einerseits durch den Europäischen Recovery Fund, aber auch den mehrjährigen Finanzrahmen der EU, einerseits 30 Milliarden Euro, dann von 21 bis 27 zusätzlich 21 Milliarden Euro. Das heißt, Geld ist da und das wird auch ausgegeben und nicht zuletzt eben in große Infrastruktur- und Bauprojekte. Das heißt, Griechenland ist trotz der Herausforderungen der globalen Zinswende weiterhin in der Spur. Ein Worst-Case-Szenario, das ja, wenn Sie sich erinnern, 2008, 2009 noch durchaus im Rahmen des Möglichen war, ist nahezu ausgeschlossen. Und das liegt daran, dass das politische Moment ziemlich stabil ist. Die Regierung liegt in Umfragen ganz gut und Wahlen gibt es erst im nächsten Jahr. Griechenland hat, wie erwähnt, durch das Ende der EU-Überwachung die Souveränität wiedererlangt, hat sich im Ukraine-Konflikt auch klar Richtung Westen positioniert und ist ein vollwertiges Mitglied wieder in der europäischen Familie. Es bietet sich auch als gute Alternative für ausbleibendes Russland- und Ukraine-Geschäft an, weil es nach wie vor ein bisschen unterm Radar läuft, aber viel Potenzial hat. Wenn man sich das zusätzliche Exportpotenzial, und das bezieht sich jetzt auf Warenexporte, anschaut, dann wird das von der ITC auf fast 60% beziffert. Das heißt, da ist noch einiges zu tun. Corona muss man auch noch erwähnen, im Moment in der endemischen Phase. Das heißt, neue Einschränkungen diesbezüglich sind auch in Griechenland eher unwahrscheinlich. Ja, noch kurz ein Blick auf die Wirtschaftszahlen. Da werde ich aber nur recht rasch drüber gehen, bevor wir dann in den Kern der Sache gehen. Österreich hat ein gutes Image, qualitativ hochwertig, zuverlässig, so dieses Alpenstereotyp, natürlich, sauber, authentisch. Das wird auch von hier aus so gesehen. Wir sind ein angesehener Businesspartner, dem auf Augenhöhe begegnet wird. Wir werden manchmal noch als Anhängsel von Deutschland wahrgenommen, was natürlich wehtut. Aber der Kulturbereich wird stark gedacht, wenn man über Österreich spricht. Aber es wird auch bemerkt, dass Österreich bei Investitionen in Griechenland ein bisschen hinterherhinkt. Wir haben lang zurückreichende Wirtschaftsbeziehungen bis ins 19. Jahrhundert. Die österreichischen Exporte nach Griechenland haben sich aber jetzt gerade in letzter Zeit wieder sehr positiv entwickelt. Wenn Sie sich ganz rechts die Zahlen anschauen, fürs erste Halbjahr, da gibt es durchwegs sehr große Steigerungsraten, zugegebenermaßen von einem nicht allzu hohen Niveau, aber trotzdem sind wir da auf einem sehr guten Weg. Und bei den Dienstleistungsimporten, da macht sich eben der Tourismus Österreichs in Griechenland bemerkbar. Da hatten wir auch einen riesigen Zuwachs wieder. Selbst bei den Direktinvestitionen nach Griechenland gab es 2021 ein Plus. In die andere Richtung schaut es ein bisschen schlechter aus. Es gibt insgesamt nur 4 Beteiligungen griechischer Firmen in Österreich. Dadurch scheinen sie in der Statistik gar nicht auf. Ja, dann noch ein kurzer Blick darauf, wie wir hier in Griechenland aufgestellt sind. Es gibt 52 österreichische Niederlassungen. Davon sind 4 in der Produktion tätig, interessanterweise alle im Verpackungsbereich. Wir haben etwas über 400 Handelsvertreter griechische, die für österreichische Firmen unterwegs sind, fast 2000 Importeure, die aus Österreich Waren beziehen, aber auch fast 1000 Exporteure, die griechische Waren nach Österreich liefern. Und unser Netzwerk, unser Lokales vom AC Athen umfasst ca. 10.000 Personen. Ja, das war's schon mit Daten und Fakten zu Griechenland. Ich darf Ihnen jetzt gleich unsere Fachexperten für heute vorstellen. Zum einen, Sie sehen ihn schon im Bild, er wird dann auch nachher die weitere Moderation übernehmen. Herr Nikos Karagiannis ist Infrastrukturreporter, Mitorganisation der Konferenz für Infrastruktur und Verkehr und Gründer der Plattform Motorways.gr, die sich mit sehr vielen Wirtschaftsbereichen in diesem Bereich auseinandersetzt. Er wird die größten Infrastruktur- und Bauprojekte vorstellen und dann eben die Diskussionsrunde mit den nachstehenden Experten dann auch leiten. Dann wird auch nachher noch Herr Nikos Mantzouphas zu uns sprechen. Er ist Leiter der Griechischen Agentur für Aufbau und Resilienz im Finanzministerium. Frau Maria Eli Gerardi, Generalsekretärin für Infrastruktur im Transportministerium. Und dann auch noch Nea Kolja, die Koordinatorin des Project Preparation Facility Unit und der Hellenic Republic Asset Development Fund. Yeah, as our conference language will be English, I will end with German now and hand over to Mr. Karagiannis to keep on with our
Hello, I would like to thank you for this invitation. I will start with a presentation about the infrastructure, the current infrastructure in Greece, and later on we will see the projects under construction. Then we will move on to our 3 distinguished speakers to tell us more about projects that are in pipeline. So let's begin with the infrastructures. Let's start with an introduction. Being the southeastern tip of continental Europe, Greece has a unique geographical position. Located on the boundary between Europe, Asia, and Africa, it obviously fulfills all the requirements to become a transport hub. Well, Greece's major goal for the future is to implement a new generation of major transport infrastructure projects, such as motorways, railway, metro, and airports, scheduled to start in gradually from 2022, which will complement the already satisfactory infrastructure that is now available in the country. What is mostly important for one to understand when considering Greece's infrastructure is the magnitude of change in the country's transport sector. When all relevant projects will be completed in 2025 and at a second stage in 2030, Greece will be comprising 3,000 kilometers of covered motorways and 1,000 kilometers modernized electrified railway lines. Today, 8 major motorways covering all of mainland Greece are in operation. Greece also features an extensive network of ports and airports due to its terrain and increased touristic traffic. The strategic planning of the country is to connect this entire infrastructure to obviously make Greece a large European hub for importing goods, mainly cargo. Already, Piraeus Port, which is run entirely by the Chinese COSCO, managed this recent years to quadruple the containers being transported to European markets. This number is expected to increase even more with the completion of major road and railway infrastructure in the country. Apart from the port of Piraeus, which is becoming one of the largest ports in Europe, with a surge in container traffic, the port of Thessaloniki also stands out, being the northern port gateway to and from Europe, with proximity to the Balkan Peninsula and Eastern Europe. Also the port of Igoumenitsa, which is the natural extension of the motorway Egnatia Odos. And then worth mentioning also the ports of Volos, Heraklion, Kavala, and as well the railway line between Piraeus, Thessaloniki, and the borders with Bulgaria. The Greek government has an important portfolio of new generation large infrastructure projects, completing the country's infrastructure puzzle. It is mainly targeted on transport and energy projects designed to strengthen existing networks throughout the country. In total, this program is up to 13 billion euro and includes public projects, concessions, and PPPs. The privatization program undertaken in recent years is also of great interest, with significant infrastructure assets gradually passing from state ownership to private schemes that have foreseen the opportunities arising. Mrs. Nayakola will give us a glimpse of the program later. One of the biggest private projects in Europe is the development of Hellinikon area in the southern suburbs of Athens. It was the former Athens airport located in an urban area, an investment that will drive funds only in the first 5 years, which is the first stage of the project, up to 2.5 billion euros and up to 8 billion over a period of 15 years. Also, the Greek government has an extensive portfolio of PPP projects, which exceeds 4 billion euros. These projects concern motorways, dams, public buildings like schools, police stations, courthouses, universities, and services like smart ticketing operation, etc. Below, we present in detail the current state of Greek major infrastructure important projects. So, let's see about the motorways. The motorway network construction in Greece started in the mid-1970s and mid-80s and was completed in the first phase in 2017. The first motorway axis to be constructed was the one connecting the mainland's 3 major cities, Patra, Athens, and Thessaloniki, and the access to Evzoni, which is the borderline between Greece and North Macedonia, creating the acronym PATHE. Now we have already an extensive motorway network of 2,400 kilometers long. Almost all Greek control access motorways have 2 traffic lanes per direction, plus an emergency line shoulder, except for the motorway sections adjacent to the metropolitan areas of Athens and Thessaloniki that have 3 traffic lanes. Almost entirely, this network have been given to the private sector through concession contracts. Today, there are 7 different concession companies. These companies were formed between Greek and foreign companies like Gekterna, Elactor, Avax, Intracat, the German Hochtief, and the French companies Ezis and Vinci. The last public motorway, Egnatia Odos, which connects the port of Igoumenitsa in the west to Thessaloniki, the second largest city in Greece, and further to the borders with Turkey in the east, is under another concession tender to be given to a joint venture between Gekterna, and which is the biggest construction company at the time, and the French company Ezis project. It is estimated that in 2023, the concession contract will be signed. The sections of motorway completed are mainly due to European and national funding, which continue to fuel the construction of new sections, while a few motorway sections are the result of private financing. The longest motorway of the country is the one you can see here, Egnatia Odos, with 670 kilometers. So in this map, you can see the motorways are in operation. The biggest one we already mentioned is Egnatiaodos. And let's see about the other ones. The first one is between Athens, Corinth, and Patras. The privately funded motorway named Olympia Motorway with 202-kilometer length and 3 traffic lanes plus shoulder per direction till Corinth. Also, toll stations are in operation. Then we have the second one, this one, the green, between Athens and Skarphia in central Greece. Then we have another one between the blue one, between Skarphia and Rachis, all the way close to Thessaloniki. The fourth is between Rachis and Klidi, this one. The fifth one is between Igoumenitsa and Kipi, the Egnatiaodos. Another one is between the Rio Anterior Bridge in Patras to Ioannina here. And then we have another one between central Greece here and from Lamia to Western Macedonia. We also have 2 motorways in Thessaloniki and in Athens. In Thessaloniki, we call it the Inner Ring Road. This is a fully completed urban motorway. It starts from the eastern entrance of the city and ends up at the interchange located outside Macedonia Airport. It is a public motorway controlled by the Infrastructure and Transport Ministry and has a length of 24 kilometers. The most important one is in Athens. You can see it here. It's the Eleftherios Venizelos Airport and Western Hymettus Peripheral Road, and we call it Attiki Odos Motorway. It has a length of 65 kilometers long. It features 3 traffic lanes plus shoulder, and it serves almost 250,000 vehicles per day. Here you can see the Rio Anterior Bridge. It is one of the longest cable-stayed bridges worldwide, a fully completed privately funded motorway called Harillos Trikoupis Bridge, maintained by Gefira SA and Vansi. You also see some other parts of the motorway, like Corinth and Kalamata in the Peloponnese, the Thessaloniki series from Achonas in North Greece, and some other sections. Also, we have the North Road Axis of Crete, which right now is a national road and not a fully covered motorway. Today, only 54 kilometers of the road called VOAC have been constructed, including the detours of Chania, Rethymno, and Heraklion cities. The project for the upgrading of the entire axis into a covered motorway is currently being tendered, divided in 3 sections since 2018, and already the eastern part has been signed. At the time being, VOAC is toll-free. Now let's move on to the railway. Now you see with the blue color the existing railway network, and with the red color the network that is not in function. The railway history of Greece can be distinguished in 2 distinct in 2 distinct eras. The first one is back in the 19th century of Harillos Trikoupis, the Greek politician who first created the country's railway network as we know it today. The second era is started during the decade of 1980s, when the dire need to modernize the obsolete railway network was finally acknowledged. Construction works started in the early 1990s and continue to date. Nevertheless, since 2010, due to the financial crisis in Greece, most of railway services in the Peloponnese area were discontinued, leaving the southern part of the Greek mainland cut off in terms of railway transportation. The country's railway network is relatively small as compared to other European networks. This was the outcome of the country's policy in favor of the use of cars for many decades, resulting in a decline of the railway network, and eventually it became obsolete until the late 20th century. From the 1990s, as I said before, concerted efforts have been made to restore the network to a functional status, and its most important part has been renovated. In 2022, the country possesses a fully electrified main railway corridor from Kiato and the Peloponnese area to Athens, and from Athens to Thessaloniki and further up to the borders in Idomeni. What is left to be completed on the corridor is the installation of all signaling and ETCS systems that will allow even higher speeds. The existing railway network does not run through the whole of the country. Instead, it is limited to some regions only, whereas the other railway connections have either stopped during the past decade, or there exists no railway network in Epirus and Western Greece. The responsibility for the management and operation of the railway network lies with the Greek government, and more particularly OSE. All companies provided transport services are now privately owned. A bill introduced in 2016 also allowed the operation of cargo logistic companies that are either fully licensed or in the process of licensing, such as rail cargo logistics with a consortium of the Greek companies Goldair and the Austrian railway ÖPP. Also, Pearl, the Chinese subsidiary of Chinese COSCO. Okay, let's see the main railway network. The first one is between Piraeus, Athens, and Thessaloniki. It is a fully completed double-track electrified line with a length of 510 kilometers long. The urban section between Athens and HRADF features a quadruple electrified line for both suburban and intercity trains. On this section, the longest railway tunnels in the country and in the Balkans in general are in operation, Kalidromo and Othris, with a length of 9 kilometers and 6.4 kilometers respectively. The second one is between Thessaloniki and the borders with North Macedonia. It is a fully completed single-track electrified line with 67 kilometers long, connecting the country's railway network with North Macedonia. Then we have the line between Thessaloniki and Promachonas, the border with Bulgaria. It's a completed single-track line without electrification, 143.3 kilometer long, connecting the country's railway network with Bulgaria. The fourth is between Kiato and Corinth area with Athens International Airport. It's a fully completed electrified double-track line with a length of 113.8 kilometers. Also, we have a section between Kiato and Aegio in North Peloponnese area, a fully completed double-track line without electrification. Then we have the secondary railway network. I won't bother you, just take a look. And we also have the railway tourist routes, which also some small lines for tourists use only. The two major ports of Greece is Piraeus and Thessaloniki. They are privately owned right now. In Piraeus, we have the Chinese COSCO. It's worth mentioning that this port is now the fifth largest port in Europe. And the third great port for the time being is Igoumenitsa in northwestern Greece, connecting Greece with Italy and Central Europe. And in airports, we have the Athens International Airport, which is the biggest in Greece. Back in 2019, it had 25.5 million passengers. And because of the COVID, then it was in 2020, the airport was tremendously hit by the pandemic of COVID. And in 2021, the traffic improved to 12 million passengers. And in the first 8 months of 2022, the traffic was further improved with 14.60 million passengers. Also, Hellenic Republic Asset Development Fund signed a concession contract with Fraport Greece in April 2017 regarding the privatization of a concession basis of 14 of the country's most important regional airports. Let's move on to the energy sector. We don't have enough time, so we move on to see other projects. This is the, a map of the public transport in Athens. The urban transport is public. And as you can see, there are 3 lines in operation, 3 metro lines in operation. And also there is 2 tram lines in operation. We have also the suburban railway main lines are towards Kiato, Chalkida and the airport, using a starting point Piraeus Central and Athens Central Railway Station. In Thessaloniki is run only by bus, and we're expecting the metro line to start at the end of 2023. And we also have the waste management section, which is probably the most problematic because we have only few plans for the time being. So let's see infrastructure projects under construction. We go back to the motorways, and as we can see, we have 2 major roadworks in the southern part of E65 motorway in central Greece. The southern part started in 2019, and the north part started in mid-2021. The second one is a 442 million euro project covered by the Recovery Fund. Second one is Aktio Ambrakia in western Greece, a new motorway of almost 50 kilometers long. And then we have the extension of Olympia motorway from Patras to Pyrgos. This section is added to the concession contract in 2021. The total cost is 335 million euro. Works have started since March 2022. Let's see metro projects. The first one is the extension of the Metro Line 3 from Agia Marina to Piraeus Port and Piraeus Central. It's the final western extension of Line 3 with 7.5 kilometers of underground line and 6 new stations. We also have the new Metro Line 4. It's a brand new line, will be added in Athens metro system. The first section is under construction since June 2021. It consists of 12.9 kilometers of tunnel with 15 stations. The cost is approximately 1.4 billion euros, one of the biggest metro projects right now in Europe. Also, we have the Thessaloniki Metro, the main line. It includes almost 10 kilometers of underground line with twin tunnels and 13 stations along its length. And we have also a new branch to the eastern part of the city, to Kalamaria. This branch includes 4.8 kilometers of underground line. The first line is to be completed in late 2023, and the second one, the branch, by 2024. Let's move on to the railway projects. The first one is the completion of signaling in sections of Athens Thessaloniki Promachonas. That's a very old contract and is to be completed by the end of 2022. The second one is between Aigio and Rio in northern Peloponnese. This section also has the Panagopoula tunnel, which is the third largest tunnel in Greece with 4.5 kilometers long, and is being constructed since 2017. We have also the Sephora railway tunnel. It's a construction of a double quadruple track tunnel in the heart of the city of Athens with a length of 2.5 kilometers. It will replace the current surface double track line, and is to be completed by 2025. We also have electrification projects, 3 different contracts for electrification in the section of Kato and Aegio, part of Athens Patra corridor, and the regional lines Paleopharsalos Kalabaka and Larissa Volos in Thessaly region. We also have the Athens Central Railway Station infrastructure, superstructure and electrification, the stage B. Let's go to the energy projects. Now we have the new lignite power plant Ptolemaida 5, which is a very large project, up to 1.4 billion euro. And we also have this one in the map you can see is the connection, the interconnection of the grid with Crete from Attica and the Peloponnese area. In the airports, we have the construction of the new international airport of Heraklion in Crete. It is the largest growth project for Crete, a total investment of 500 million euros. The scope of the project concerns the construction of a new international airport. We also have upgrade works in Paros, Naxos, and Chios airports. We also have a completion of Piraeus Port Cruise Pier. The completion of the cruise pier of Piraeus Port Container Terminal will allow even bigger cruise ships to approach and make Piraeus a home port. The cost of the project is approximately 135 million euros. And we also have the Igoumenissa port expansion. A very interesting project is in Athens is the restoration in Faliro, which is a public project, includes extensive infrastructure works and flood defense works. The first phase of the project is completed and now is expected the tender for the second and final stage. The cost is 200 million euros and it will create the biggest coastal park in the metropolitan area of Athens. I also like to mention VOAC, which is Crete's northern motorway axis. The double tender for VOAC was launched in October 2018, divided in 2 branches, a concession for Chania Iraklio and a PPP tender for Chersonissos Neapoli. Mrs. General Secretary will tell us more about this very big projects later on. We also have some other sections like Kalamata Pylos Methoni Motorway, the underwater road tunnel between Salamina and Perama in Attica, and a new section of the Thessaloniki Ring Road called Flyover. This is another PPP project expected to be signed by the end of the year. The total duration of the contract, together with the construction period, is 30 years. We also have the first extension of Attiki Odos Motorway. We're talking about the extension of Kimis Avenue. It concerns the first extension. Kimis Avenue will be extending through a tunnel to the national road as a bypass to the congested part between Metamorphosis and Penteli in northern suburbs of Athens. The contracted authority of the project is the Ministry of Infrastructure and Transport. We also have a logistics center in the greater area of Athens in Attica. And I won't bother you with this project because Mrs. Gerardi will talk for those projects. And I would like to tell you only about the Hellinikon project, which is the biggest urban project throughout the European Union, a project which would totally change Athens, significantly change Attica and maybe Greece, with a colossal construction program that combines the creation of infrastructure, a part of the Metropolitan Park, and important building complexes, lambda development, plans to proceed the first phase of the large investment for Hellinikon. The works have started in June 2021. The first phase, which is expected to be completed in 5 years, in 2026, includes the coastal front in the area of Agios Kosmas, and together with the marina, the new western development of the Metropolitan Park, which is approximately equal to the 33% of its total area. We also have the Riviera Tower, about 200 meters high, the first green skyscraper in Greece, will be an important landmark with a building area of about 45,000 square meters, will dominate the coastal zone. On Vouliagmeni Avenue, which is the biggest avenue in Greece, will be 2 more towers, which due to the altitude differences will be about 140 and 150 meters high. Also a retail park will be in the same area. Larger than Hyde Park in London, the 2,000 square meters, the Hellenikon Park along the Athenian Riviera, once completed, will be able to handle over 500 visitors a day. It will be a main attraction in Athens. And works are currently underway for the infrastructure projects that will run in the first decade. We refer to the project of creation of utility networks, creation of building blocks, network of roads, sidewalks, bicycle path, the remodeling of the beach of Agios Kosmas. In the first phase, it is estimated that about 800 houses will be built. Among the project of the first 5 years is the large project of the bypass and undergrounding part of the Posidonos Avenue. It's a coastal avenue throughout the Athens Riviera. We also have in this picture the casino that it will be built by the joint venture between GEC Terna and Hard Rock, the American company, which concerns a building complex where the main building will be approximately 200 meters high. It's an additional independent investment approximately of 1 billion euro. The works are estimated to commence in 2023. That's all from me. Now I would like to give the floor to Mr. Manzoufas to tell us some more. Mr. Manzoufas, you have the floor.
Nikos.
Thank you very much for being here with us.
Thanks a lot, and thanks a lot for the invitation to this very interesting web webinar. Now, I'm currently leading the Recovery and Resilience Facility, and I will get on the details on it shortly. But before that, for over 10 years, I had been in charge of the PPP unit in Greece, having developed a number of projects, and Nikos mentioned a number of PPP projects that are in the process of tendering at the moment or awarding or financial close. But indeed, the PPP market in Greece has been a quite successful one. I would mention one and only figure is that under a review by the World Bank by 2020, Greece has been acknowledged as having a ranking of #2 in terms of good procurement processes across the globe. So I'm really proud that we have developed a very transparent and a very effective PPP market over the last decade, which continues to be so. As I said in my beginning words, now I'm heading the Recovery and Resilience Agency at the Ministry of Finance. Now, the Recovery and Resilience Facility for Greece is an amount of approximately 30.5 billion euro, and actually it covers two main parts. The first part is the grant element, that is an amount of 17.8 billion euro, and there is 12.7 billion euro that is related to the loan facility, and I will explain how it is structured and what are opportunities out of this in general for any kind of company. Now on the grant element, through the RRF, we will develop a number of projects across almost the whole sectors of the Greek economy, I will not get into details because our two main contracting authorities, public contracting authorities, is the Ministry of Infrastructure, and my colleague, Secretary General, I'm sure will give you details of the upcoming projects that do receive the funding from the Recovery and Resilience Facility, and not only. And also we have the TAIPED, which is a central body lying under the Ministry of Finance, which was for several years in charge for privatizations, but now under a new additional role, they act as the procurement agency for a number of selected projects where we believe that they can bring a value in terms of speedy preparation of the projects, uniform tender documentations, and quick and efficient and transparent tendering processes in cases where we have not so capable administrative bodies that originally would contract and procure the projects. And this is quite fundamental that we have three big, large central procuring entities. Actually, sorry, we have four. We have the Ministry of Infrastructure running a large bulk of the RRF program. We have TAIPED, I said earlier. We have Information of Society, who is running the tenders for the ICT projects, almost all the ICT projects across the government. And we have the Technical Chamber of Greece. So these four big entities are running the bulk of the procurement processes in relation to RRF. As I said before, the program covers almost everything from roads, bridges, smart infrastructure projects, regeneration of urban places, flood mitigation, irrigation projects, agricultural projects, even the upgrade of airports for the new high standards. But I will not give you the details since my two colleagues will explain in more details which are the upcoming projects in regards to that. Some details about our program further to that is that we have been actually the third country within the European Union that have actually signed the operational agreement with the European Commission, and we have been the third country, including France and Spain, that have received the first payment request, having successfully fulfilled the first set of milestones which are related to investments and to reforms. So far, out of this 30.7 billion euro, we have received, it has been disbursed, amount approximately of 7.6 billion euro, and we are at the final stages of the process, filing the second payment request, which will be an amount of approximately 3.6 billion euro. So it's a program that runs very, very smoothly, and also for this second payment request, again, so far only two European countries have filed a payment request. So again, we will be the third in that regard. We have developed a very rigid control and audit system that has been approved by the European Commission. So we believe, and it's true actually, we are front runners in the implementation of the RRF, which is quite critical for the further development of the Greek economy. Finally, let me give you some brief details about the loan facility I started to describe earlier. We have been one of the few countries, Italy was another one, that have requested for the full amount of the loan facility that we were entitled to, that amounted to 12.7 billion euros. The main reason for that, for instance, I know Austria has not followed that route. The main reason for that is that we actually did want to take advantage of the very low interest rate that the European Union is receiving these loans. But the big difference on the way we structured it is that we actually channel the whole amount of this 12.7 billion to private enterprises, meaning we will not finance further public works out of that. One of the key reasons for that is that this is a loan, so we want this to us to receive these loans back and to repay over the period to the European Commission. So what we structured is a co-blending loan facility for private enterprises. This has been approved and actually it's working, and I will give you some details on it already. So the basic rules there is that we do finance from this loan facility up to 50% of an investment project, while we do ask the commercial banks to provide at least 30% and to have 20% equity. What we actually offer, apart from the liquidity, is that we do offer a low interest rate that we receive from the European Commission. So we offer that low interest rate to the private investments, always subject to state aid rules. So far, we have 8 banks that are with which we are working on this program. We have 6 Greek commercial banks. We have the 4 systemic banks, and we have, which is Alpha Bank, Eurobank, National Bank of Greece, and Piraeus Bank, and we have 2 non-systemic ones, Optimum and Patritan Bank. But apart from the 6 commercial banks, we have also signed agreements with 2 IFIs, meaning namely the European Investment Bank and EBRD. So this program is being run by these 8 banks, where any potential client can approach these banks. Any of these banks, they are competing each other in terms of offering this product that we have developed. We have also developed, I would say, a clever way for the fast acceleration and implementation of the program, meaning that we do provide to each bank a tranche of 200 million, and upon progress, we provide the rest. The main target for these investments is to cover climate mitigation investments and digital. It has to do at the global level. We have to, in aggregation, to have 20% on digital investments and 38% on climate adaptation investments. But the program is open to almost any sector and any pillar of the Greek economy. It could be an extroversion, it could be R&D, it could be tourism, it could be almost any kind of investment, but the banks at the same time need to respect on their tranche these 20% and 38% tagging in terms of meeting specific areas. We are quite happy to say that at the moment, having no more than 6 months of operation of these particular projects, we have, and the final point in regards to the structuring is that we are not, as government, as RRF agency, as Ministry of Finance, we are not intervening in the selection process. We have made all the rules that this program needs to respect. So we are not intervening in the selection process, nor in any kind of approval or disbursement. We just monitor that the banks are following all the rules that jointly with the European Commission we have established, and in that regard, we have also a registry of independent auditors that do verify for each single investment that these rules continuously apply. we are no more than 6 months under operation of this particular program with these 8 banks I mentioned before. Huge work was done so as to be in that position, which started in February this year. And over this almost 6 months, we have more than 140 investment proposals being submitted to the banks, requesting approximately 2 billion euro from the RRF loan, over more than 5 billion investment cost, which shows the appetite and the real demand out there. And so far, we have signed, banks have signed 30 contracts, financing contracts for almost 450 million euro, over 1 billion investment cost, covering again a number of sectors, from photovoltaics on the roof and net metering of supermarket chains, to expansion of industrial production of packaging industry, of pharmaceutical industry, developing a new pharmaceutical industry, renovation of car fleet with electric vehicles, and many others. So this is a very interesting and well-structured program that already shows results, as I explained briefly. And the fact that in an environment where the interest rates are climbing, you all face that, we have structured the right tool to offer to private investments, offering this low interest rate without offering any kind of guarantee. So we are acting fully on a pari passu basis with the commercial banks. It's very encouraging. One perhaps would be cautious about it, that there is demand out there. We do see private investments, which is very important for the development of any economy, particularly the Greek one. Now, a second pillar of this loan facility is related to equity investment. So in that regard, we have channeled €500 million through the National Promotional Investment Bank for equity investments. So they have run, and it's open, the calls, they have run 2 calls asking for equity investors that could supplement almost double the amount that we are offering in various tranches. So it could be out of this 500 million, $500 million, it could be 6 or 7 equity holders that need to provide an equivalent amount, so as to run on our behalf as equity providers to SMEs, to startups, and to innovative companies. There is a very strong market in the Greek economy that is in need of this equity injection. You might know that we have very live and active universities, and there are many spin-offs coming from these universities, especially on the technological and the biomedical area. So we are very confident that we are sure that the opportunities are there, and we are very confident that very soon equity investors will join their forces with us on this particular program. So in brief, this is the program that we are running in regards to the RRF. It's very challenging.
Nico, you have 1 minute. 1 minute.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
It's a very challenging program. We have to meet very strict and tight deadlines in terms of delivering the projects. We have structured a new agency directly under the Ministry of Finance. So far we are 30 people, and we will grow up to 60. meaning that we want to have a small but very efficient team that will run this whole program. So thank you very much for hearing me, and I'm open for any kind of question now or later, or any kind of meetings that might come up out of this seminar. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, Nico, for the interesting facts. I hope the audience find all those that you mentioned interesting. So let's move on now to the General Secretary of Infrastructure, Mrs. Maria Eli Gerardi, to tell us about the projects in pipeline of the Ministry of Infrastructure and Transport. Mrs. Gerardi, the floor is yours.
Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. I'm glad. I would like to thank you for the invitation. Mr. Karagiannis also always gave you a very detailed and accurate picture of the infrastructure constructed or under construction in Greece. And now I will present you a project pipeline for the following years.
You have 14 minutes.
Okay. Today, the projects we designed and implement at the Ministry of Infrastructure are aimed at leveraging our country's strategic advantages. The ambitious project program amounts at approximately over 13 billion euros, and we can easily say that it is the largest since the Olympic Games in 2004. In less than 3 years, we managed to tender projects with a total budget of over 9 billion euros, while in the meantime, projects that sum up to 3.2 billion euros have been contracted and entered the implementation stage. Our projects are designed to cover the entire spectrum of the country's infrastructure. The goal is to upgrade, if possible, the existing infrastructure, but also to create new, aiming to solve citizens' problems and improve their quality of life. In particular, our pipeline consists of projects in rail projects, road projects, flood protection, water supply, and ITC projects, as well as airport and port infrastructure. In particular, especially about 9 billion euros of projects are currently either in tender process, as I mentioned, or expected to be launched in the upcoming months. If we want to break down by category, we have road projects around 3 billion euros, flood protection and water supply projects around 1.1 billion, railway projects up to 5 billion, and the ITC projects for 130 million euros. As far as the tendering procedure is concerned, we have six projects as a PPP that are currently in the first phase for the expression of interest, 10 projects that will be tendered as public work contracts between October and the first quarter of 2023, 6 railway projects that are currently in the competitive, in the second phase of the competitive dialogue, and 2 road projects that will be implemented through concession agreements, and they are entering their final stage. Now, let's start with our PPP projects. In the ministry, we believe that the private and the public sector should work closely and effectively. So, given the experience we have acquired from the first 3 projects that we tendered, we proceed with 5 more. The first 2 are 2 road projects concerning the upgrade of 2 axes in the north of Greece, Thessaloniki Metro and Drama Amphipoli. It's moving a bit too fast. Sorry. Both projects have a construction period of 3 years and operation period of 27 years. The budget of each project is 358 million and 2 million respectively, and the call for the expression of interest expires at the end of October. Next, we have 2 major irrigation projects that will also help with the flood mitigation and water supply of the nearby areas. The first is in Chania, Crete, with a budget of 215 million, and the second in Thessaly, in the center of Greece, with a budget of 185. The deadline for those 2 projects is also by the end of October. Both have a construction period of 4 years and 26 years for the operation. Our last PPP project is a totally different one from the previous ones, and in my opinion, the most intriguing and interesting, since it concerns the operation and maintenance of the Thessaloniki Metro. As Mr. Karagiannis said, Thessaloniki Metro is a very much anticipated project that has finally reached its final stage. So this contract that has a 12-year period and a budget of 292 million euros, we're expecting the expression of interest by the beginning of December 2022. Now moving on to the projects that are funded by the RRP, and the tendering procedure will be launched in the following days. We have a new branch in the suburban railway in Attica that will serve the western areas of Attica, but also freight load for the Hellenic petroleum facilities. The budget is 100 million euros and the duration of the construction period is around 3 years. Now, Smart Bridges is a very promising project with a budget of 130 million that will give a smart preventive maintenance service for the railway bridges across the country. This project is just the beginning, since we tend to launch later a bigger one for the upgrade of the old road bridges across the country. Next, we have 2 flood mitigation projects. With this and with the 2 previously mentioned, we aim at increasing the climate and disaster resilience while reducing the risk of flooding. In addition, we provide water for irrigation purposes in drought areas during the summer and optimize the surface water management. The first project is also in Crete, in the eastern side of the island, with a budget of 53 million, and the second in the western region of Greece with a budget of 65 million. The next 3 projects are water supply projects in areas that face great problem, particularly in the summer, when the demand is extremely high, since we're talking about popular touristic destinations. The first is in the western region of Greece and consists of new pipeline over 100 kilometers long that will provide adequate volumes of drinking water to 2 prefectures in the area and the island of Lefkada, with a budget of 140 million. The next consists of a dam that will cover the water supply needs for the capital and a number of villages in the island of Lesbos, with a budget of 104 million. And last but not least, we have the construction of 2 dams and the pipelines needed in the island of Corfu. This will be a PPP project, but there will be a state contribution of 60 million in the construction period that will be funded by the RRP. Now moving on to the projects that will be funded by the structural funds. By the end of the year, we will be ready for the invitation of interest for the extension of Line 2 of the Athens Metro. The extension to the western suburbs of Athens will create 3 new stations and 4 kilometers of double line with a budget of 350 million. Next, we have a road project in the northern Greece, Gianna-Kakavia, which is the missing link for the completion of the core TEN-T network in Greece. It starts at the interchange of 2 major motorways in Greece, Egnatia Odos, that goes through from the east side of the country to the west, and the Ionia Odos, and it will go up to the Albanian border. The budget will be around 300 million euros, and the procurement is scheduled for the end of the year or the beginning of the next. Next, we have another dam and contribution pipelines for irrigation purposes in Crete, in Rethymno. At the moment, we're in discussions with the EIB and the SEB to ensure the appropriate funding of this project that has a budget of 130 million. The moment we ensure we have the green light from the banks, we will launch the tendering procedure. Our next project is the last of a list of 10 flood protection projects that are funded by the EIB, SEB, and the structural funds. The other 9 have already started, and this project that covers the area of Nea Makri in the eastern of Attica will be launched by the end of 2022 or the beginning of 2023 with a budget of 67 million. Now, the biggest project of our pipeline, and certainly one of great importance for our country in general, is the new motorway in Crete, known to everyone as VOAK. We're finally at the stage where we can say that the construction has started for this project. In the 2 sections in the east, for a length of 36 kilometers, we have the contractors the contracts awarded, and the following days we will be ready to tender the documents for the final stage of the concession agreement. The new motorway has a total length of 107 kilometers, a large number of tunnels and bridges, a budget that comes up to 1.7 billion euros, and basically connects the 3 major cities of Crete, Chania, Rethymno, and Iraklio. The expression of interest was concluded in 2019. So in November, there will be a confirmation stage for the participants in order to ensure that everyone is still they still want to be involved in this project. The funding is part from the RRP for the first years of the construction, and then we will move on with the funding from the structural funds. The next project that will also be under a concession agreement is the underwater road tunnel that will connect Attica with the island of Salamina. At the moment, we're waiting the end of the public consultation regarding the environmental impact of the project in order to proceed with the final tender documents. The total budget of the project is approximately 500 million. Now, the next 3 projects are major railway projects that we have launched through the process of competitive dialogue. At this stage, all 6... Yes?
Have 2 minutes, please. 2 minutes more.
Okay. Yes, I'm summing up. At this stage, all 6 projects have entered the second phase of the procedure, and our plan is to have the contracts awarded in the first semester of 2023. The first one is Thessaloniki Toxotes, the East Egnatia Railway, as we call it, that will connect the port of Thessaloniki and Kavala up to the existing railway network in Toxotes and then go to Alexandroupoli. The next project concerns the end of the railway Pathé, the connection with the port of Patras, the last 11 kilometers. Alexandroupoli Ormenio is the upgrade of the existing railway line, which, considering the current state, is a very important project and has a lot of people are very interested in the construction. Then we have the connection of the 6th pier of Thessaloniki port rail connection and the deployment of the suburban railway in Western Thessaloniki. And the final 2 railway projects are the extension of the suburban railway line in Athens towards the two remaining ports in Athens, Rafina and Lavrio. Last but not least, that's just a teaser. It's not mature yet, but
this is the biggest one, right?
Yes, it is the biggest one, but we're at the preliminary stage at the moment. It's the Attikiodos motorway extension. TAIPED has launched the new tender for the existing concession, and we are scheduling and designing the extensions for 2024-2025. Thank you very much, and I will be waiting for your questions.
Thank you very much, Maria. I would like to say to the audience, if you have any questions, you can write it to the chat box in the right side of your screen. So now let's move on to our next speaker. Unfortunately, Mrs. Naya Kolya couldn't connect with us, so we have Mrs. Elena Barogianni, who will tell us about the Project Preparation Facility Unit, strategic projects funded by national, European or international funding programs. Elena, the floor is yours.
Dear all, thank you so much. It's an honor for our company to be here at this webinar. Unfortunately, as Mr. Karagiannis said, our Chief Investment Officer, Ms. Naya Kolya, couldn't make it due to technical problems, so I will do this presentation for her. Let me introduce you to our organization. The Hellenic Republic Asset Development Fund was established in 2011, and since 2016, its sole shareholder is the Growth Fund, the National Fund of Greece. The fund's initial mandate is to leverage the state's private property assigned to it by the Hellenic Republic. The HRADF operates to serve the public interest according to the rules of private economy. The development and the utilization of public property are implemented in accordance with the prevailing market conditions and with guarantees of full transparency. In 2020-21, the fund was assigned the maturation of contracts that are part of the development program for contracts of strategic importance through the establishment of a discrete operational unit, the Project Preparation Facility, in order to be a clear distinction from the fund's state asset development role, according to its founding law 3986 of 2011. PPF's mandate is the maturation, the conduct of the tender process, and the supervision of the implementation states for projects of strategic importance, which are classified as part of the strategic project pipeline. PPF unit acts at the request of and on behalf of the project beneficiary to accelerate the project's completion and to reduce the beneficiary's workload. To this end, we support the beneficiary's administrative structure as well as through management and coordination of the project consultants to ensure quality and efficiency in their delivery. I'm sorry, I'm trying to move the presentation. Okay, perfect. So why PPF? There are various reasons why PPF was chosen to accomplish this goal, but the most important is time saving and efficiency. Firstly, PPF's capability to use the fund's procurement regulation in order to assign technical assistance and design contracts ensures faster but transparent procedures in comparison to the procurement law used by the public sector. For example, in terms of time saving, a tender with the use of the law for public procurement would take about 9 months until the signature with the bidder, whilst using the HRAD's procurement regulation, it takes even less than 3 months. Although this procedure is faster, it still maintains the credibility of the tenders to the maximum, applying all European directives and safety valves, but at the same time bypassing the bureaucracy and the multiple stages of controls that the public sector sets. Another important value-adding characteristic is the ability of correct drafting of the tender documents, which results to avoidance of failures in the tender process that could lead to objections and appeals. But by outsourcing all types of external advisors, financial, legal, technical, and so on, who support the maturation of projects horizontally, including the receipt of studies, PPF is established as a complete engine, having expertise on different sectors gathered in a single unit. An innovative method PPF uses is the possibility of concluding framework agreements through the grouping of similar needs and standards. This is a possibility which exists in the public sector, but is not used widely. Very important is also the fact that the fund's approving body, its board of directors, can take immediate decisions, since they do not need immediate approvals, intermediate approvals by the different public services and authorities. PPF ensures timely cooperation and issuance of the relevant approvals and decisions, acting as a coordinator between the ministries, the Recovery and Resilience Facility Agency, when the project is funded by the RRF, and the several stakeholders involved, reducing the ministerial workload and accelerating the procedures. Following the European standards, PPF acts as a vehicle for the fast adaptation and alignment to the new requirements of European policies and targets, namely the climate and environmental policies, the Industry 4.0 policy, and the Do No Significant Harm principle. In terms of proactiveness, PPF teams are set according to the project specifications and technical needs and are framed by the external experts to follow the project's progress and deliverables and ensure the expected outcome. Until today, the PPF has been assigned by the Governmental Committee with 27 projects of total budget of nearly 5 billion euros, mostly funded by the RRF. The contracts signed so far budget to approximately 2 billion. Let me please quickly present you some of our important infrastructure projects. The first one is the new Industrial Parks project, which concerns the establishment of new facilities for next generation industrial parks, the expansion of the existing industrial parks to meet the needs for adaptation to the modern Industry 4.0 strategy, and the transformation of high industrial concentration areas into technologically smart, environmentally sustainable, and innovative industrial parks. The implementation of the program investment plans is expected to have very positive effects on employment by creating a significant number of new jobs and improvement to the enterprises established in these parks. The Court of Athens project refers to the construction of a judicial building in Athens, which will house the Court of First Assistance and the Prosecutor's Office. The new building will be positioned between the Court of Appeal and the Magistrates' Court to co-locate all the civil and criminal justice services, improving collaboration and efficiency. The new building will support new reform initiatives such as the e-justice, upskilling and training of judicial personnel, etc. Furthermore, the new judicial building will satisfy all environmental and energy efficiency requirements, reducing its energy consumption and minimizing its carbon footprint. The renovation of the Olympic Athletics Center of Athens project aims to repair, maintain and improve the operating efficiency of OAKA, to extend its useful life, upgrade its facilities and reduce its running cost to result in a safe, operational and sustainable athletics and leisure destination. The project Health Infrastructure, National Health System Hospital Renovation and Infrastructure Upgrade concerns the expansion, modernization and operational and energy upgrade of 80 hospital buildings in the country's 7 health districts, as well as the supply of new medical equipment. The works will include the construction of new auxiliary buildings, renovation of the facilities according to the new regulations, hydraulic system replacement, air conditioning system upgrade, replacement of medical gas systems, and so forth. Another important project of the health sector is the reform of the national healthcare system. This project concerns the renovation and the operational and energy upgrade of the primary healthcare infrastructure. Through this project, 50% of the country's health centers, regional and local clinics and polyclinics, 156 out of a total of 312, will be upgraded. Furthermore, chronic disease management centers will be developed within the health centers. The building's operation will be improved by rearranging the internal layout, by replacing the equipment, and by installing equipment to facilitate access for people with reduced mobility. In addition, all the necessary repair works will be carried out, as well as any necessary upgrade works in the building's surrounding area. Let's go to the Athens Riviera. This project concerns the unification of the Attica Prefecture urban shoreline, stretching to approximately 14.5 kilometers from the municipality of Kalithea to the city hall of Varivoula Vouliagmeni. The project scopes to the construction of an extended network of bicycle and pedestrian streets, providing an upgraded free public space throughout the Attica basin. The project aims to improve the urban environment by upgrading the quality of the metropolitan area and attracting new economic activities by the creation of a functional and aesthetic axis. The creation and expansion and upgrade of infrastructures of research centers in Greece is another important project, which comprises an infrastructure upgrade of research centers in order to enhance the research capacity and capabilities in important scientific and technological areas. And last but not least, the development of the former Gono military camp in West Thessaloniki scopes to the development of the said area with a mixed land use of logistics, manufacturing, and free trade zone. It is a key investment for the development of a modern international system for combined freight transport, which will contribute to the expansion of national logistics in combination with the development of the Thriasio 1 and 2 in the Regio of Attica. All the aforementioned projects are in progress maturation phase thanks to the great collaboration and organized efforts by the funds PPF and the state. We at PPF believe in the quick and accurate completion of the projects assigned to us, which will contribute to the general development of the country, but most importantly, will have a significant social and sustainable footprint. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Elena. Thank you all for your presentations and your speeches. I think we have a general idea of what happens in the field of infrastructure in Greece and the funding of those projects. Now let's move on to the Q&A session. Okay, let's move on to Mrs. Maria Gerardi. Maria, I would like to ask you, in your opinion, what are the most attractive and ready projects for foreign investors, for companies that are interesting to be here in Greece in those projects?
It's difficult for me to choose. It's like choosing one of your children. I believe that the RRP projects are the more mature projects and ready to be launched pretty quickly. Also, companies that have that can have loans and the PPP projects that we have launched are also very attractive. And then, as I mentioned in my speech, for me, the most attractive project is the Thessaloniki Metro operation. But it's very specific and it attracts a very specific and a certain center profile investments.
Maria, if I'm not mistaken, this is the first time that we try to set a PPP project like that.
Exactly. In Athens, as you know, it's a state-owned company that runs the metro system, and we try for the first time to have an investor for this and bring the private sector in an operation like that.
I also find very interesting the fact that we're trying to set the project for the motorway in Crete. The existing motorway, it's not exactly a motorway right now, and it's really deadly. So the intention is to move forward and have the works begin in 2023, right?
Yes, we have the we had the environmental permit issued in July, so we're working on the tender documents, and we will give them to the participants in the coming month for a first review. But we think that, as I told you, the selection was done in 2019. A lot of things have changed since that, and maybe new partners can get into this project, which is a huge project. It's a 1.7 billion euros. Nikos has joined us.
Okay, Nikos is here with us again. So I would like to ask Nico. Nico, you run a new agency. What are the main goals in order to achieve most of the projects to be delivered on time?
Okay. First of all, the main challenge is to have very efficient and smooth tendering processes. In that regard, and from our side also to control this whole tendering process. I feel quite confident in that regard, since we do have strong central procuring authorities like the Ministry of Infrastructure. You heard in much details the program they do have. Most of the projects presented by my colleague are being financed by the Recovery and Resilience Facility. And TAIPED, the Technical Chamber of Greece, and the Information Society SA. So we have established 4 large infrastructure procuring authorities, which is very key in order to deliver and achieve the goals in terms of timing. Now, the second challenge, to be very, very open and frank, is related to 2 things. What is the availability of the market at the moment to participate and to implement projects, given that in the whole year there are similar large-scale investment programs. So this is a question to the market. Given the magnitude of financing to be dispersed in Europe over the last years, can the market accommodate the supply? The first evidence we have is do show that the answer is yes, but this will need to be proved over time, and given also the increasing procurement processes also in other European countries. So in other words, there are too much supply, which is well needed. The question is if the market can accommodate. And the third challenge is also in relation to prices, because we are all facing the very high inflation and the increase of the energy prices. So far, we are accommodating this by cautiously increasing the prices at a level that we strongly believe that the project is still feasible. But this remains to be seen how this will evolve over the next few years. So these are some main challenges that on which we are very much well aware, and we are working and we are continuously monitoring the involvement of these things over the next years. The final element is that soon, hopefully soon, but I'm quite confident that it will be soon, we will have also the REPowerEU program from the European Commission, and hopefully it will be approved by the member states quite soon. So in that regard, we are already working to put our proposals, which will be under the Recovery and Resilience Facility, adding projects tailored to the current energy crisis and the decarbonization process, etc. In that regard, we have also another party that is also a big procuring agency, but it's a very specific procuring agency that has to do with the interconnection, cable, electricity interconnections of the islands. So we have the independent power transmission operator. We are financing approximately €500 million for the development of energy interconnection cables connecting mainland and island, and potentially it could be an area where we will increase the budget coming from the REPowerEU, but many other sectors around. So we do expect and see that more financing will be available for tailor-made to the energy issues investments. This could include storage projects, So far, we have one very large storage project that has received the state aid approval and construction has started. It's the Amphilokea Dam storage project. It's a $500 million program there. So storage, energy storage will be a key pillar in the coming months as well.
Thank you very much. I'm pretty confident that you will succeed in this job. We know your efforts. So we have no more time for any further questions. So I would like to give the floor to Mr. Christoph Sturm to close this webinar. Mr. Sturm.
I want to thank all the speakers for sharing their time with us and giving us really this very high-level insights. An die österreichischen Teilnehmer, ich hoffe, Sie haben wertvolle Informationen für Ihre weitere Tätigkeit hier mitgenommen und bei weiteren Fragen sind wir gerne für Sie da. Wenn Sie diesbezüglich noch vertiefende Informationen benötigen, schreiben Sie uns einfach an. Unsere Kontaktdaten haben Sie. Und in diesem Sinne danke ich noch für Ihre Aufmerksamkeit und wünsche Ihnen noch einen restlichen schönen Tag. Dankeschön, Wiedersehen. Bye bye, thank you very much.